This is the Authentic Dating series brought to you by Ahmad and David,
where we explore what it takes to have a dating life you're excited about.
Hey guys, I'm David.
I'm Ahmad.
And this is the Authentic Dating series.
In this episode, we're going to be hitting on a very interesting topic, which is how to thrive in the Me Too era.
I'm really getting a sense of deja vu.
I don't know why that is, Dave. Is it because we recorded this one already and I saved over it?
Yes. So yeah, like the Me Too, like, you know, we had Me Too, when was that? Like 2015? Did Harvey get hotted up for his scoundrel ways?
Time flies now.
I feel like I was maybe away when it happened. Yeah, and like, unless you've been living under a rock for the last good few years, you realise that various prominent, old, mainly white men, I can say that I'm black, so it's cool, apart from poor Bill Cosby, God rest his soul, he was an arsehole too, have been found guilty of various types of sexual harassment, ranging from, you know, Harvey Weinstein, who was, I think, trying to get sex in exchange for women being in his films and stuff like that. And you got old Bill Cosby, you know, who was Bill Cosby on the Cosby Show, was drugging women and having sex with them in his house, which is pretty fucking out of order, right? So we're now in the point now where, as a lot of men are really concerned about the impact of that on their own dating lives. And then you've kind of got the other end of the spectrum where you've got, you know, regular guys just doing slightly lewd things, like, what would you say? It's like kind of manhandling women, grabbing them inappropriately, touching them inappropriately, or like, just being very rapey.
Well, yeah, there's the way I see it is, it's like what's kind of come to the surface is two ends of the same issue. And on one side, like you said, there's a Weinstein thing, which I just looked up, and it was 2017. that all went down, and then on the other hand, there's also an issue that has been a long-standing problem for all the time, where men are like grabby, as you say, and very lewd or crass in their approach. And often we stereotype that as like builders high up on their scaffolding, catcalling and whistling at women to get their attention. And obviously, you know, in general, women feeling very unsafe and disrespected, and just not free to live.
Yeah, free to leave their homes freely and so forth. Like, I listened to a podcast recently called The Rising Man Podcast. I'd actually highly recommend it. Actually, really beautiful. I think it's by Jed Zuma, I think it is. And he was saying he just had a little girl, and he was like, you know, as men, we can't stop in our work until all women are safe. You know, and they're safe to be born, they're safe to not be born, they're safe to leave the house late at night. We're, you know, as men, our jobs are not done until we create a world where both men and women are completely safe.
Oh, wow.
And free to do as they please, which I really resonated with. And I think the Me Too movement is very much in line with that. Like, you know, it's not a world where, it's not a correct world, in my opinion, where women can't go to a bar without the fear of being basically sexually harassed. You know, where men feel like they can just grab women because they want to, which is completely wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do believe that the Me Too campaign and the Me Too movement has really brought these issues to light. And we were saying this before as well. It was like, it's a good thing. Sorry to interrupt you there. I think for respectful men, actually, I think it should be doing wonders for you. Or it made no difference to you, right? For men who are disrespectful and I use this term a lot, rapey. You know, guys who will, you know, I've seen it a lot in clubs where it comes to the end of the night and there's guys kind of scouring the club looking for that really, really drunk girl that they can try and, you know, she's so drunk that maybe she doesn't quite know where she's going, what she's doing, and trying to take them out of the club and get them into a taxi. And you're like, dude, that's fucking not cool. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So if you're that sort of guy, and if we're talking to you and that you're that sort of guy, stop that shit. Yeah. Right? That's not right. And if you're not doing that, and you know you're being super respectful to women and so forth, then you're going to enjoy this podcast and you're going to resonate a lot with what we're saying. Yeah. So you're going to feel very uneasy.
Yeah.
As the podcast continues. Yeah. So in general, though, like what we do find as well is like for a lot of men,
there's kind of like an umbrella feeling, like an overall feeling of like, oh, what do I do now? How do I approach a woman? Is it allowed? Am I allowed to speak to women now? Can I touch a woman? Is it, what's okay, what's not? It's a real confusion as to what's okay, what's not okay. And just guys, we hear a lot about just guys feeling like they don't know what they can do anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult time.
Yeah.
It's ruined things, and it's a difficult time. And I know it's not been our experience.
No.
In general, it's not been our experience of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, thankfully, it's not been our experience of life. Like, yeah, I'm not walking around in fear in any particular way. But
I haven't had the police knocking on my door for any reasons of being rapey or anything like that.
No. So, well, eventually they'll come, mate. But
probably not for that.
but you see, what we understand is for a lot of guys, they're not feeling comfortable,
Not feeling free.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, right. Well, first and foremost, it's like, well, if you don't fall into one of these categories that we've just mentioned about, like either on the Harvey Weinstein level or on the lewd and crass side, then there's no need to panic. There's nothing to worry about, because by and large, like, that is what the Me Too movement is about. It's about stamping out that behavior. It's about stamping out sexual abuse and abuse of power. And it's also about allowing women to feel respected and safe in modern society.
Yeah.
And so, there's no issue there, inside of that. If you're operating inside of those bounds, like, that's cool, right?
Yeah, you're probably pretty safe.
Yeah. So in that regard, like, there is nothing to worry about. Like, of course, women want to still want to be approached, and
I think it's vital.
And
it's vital for the survival of man.
Yeah, and they obviously want to be complimented and chatted up and all sorts. It's like, when done in the right way, in the proper manner and respectfully, they're all for it. But in this particular podcast, we're just outlining like where it's not cool and where it's cool.
Yeah. So yes, I think one of the first things we could to start with is inappropriate behavior in the workplace, because it's very easy. I think this is, in terms of Me Too, and I know there's been plenty of kind of London businessmen and London CEOs that have been caught up in this. I think one of the interesting ones, and this is slightly off topic, is the Ted Baker CEO, I think it was, that was caught up in that he was giving false hugs to people and stuff like that, and people didn't want to hug.
Giving what, sorry?
He was forcing people to hug him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently.
Why?
I don't know. I have read about it, and it's like, he likes to hug, and I think I don't know if he's been removed from CEO, or he was a founder. He's been kind of removed from the public eye now, because he liked to hug people, and people didn't always want to be hugged, and so forth. So, there's appropriate work behavior, like hugging people at work. For a lot of people might not be appropriate, which I feel is quite sad, actually. I think hugging is really a natural thing to do, but I think there's a lot of fear around kind of how you should act at work. But then you've got other things like, certain types of comments you shouldn't be making about how people are dressed is what you shouldn't necessarily be doing. Like, if you're making slightly crass comments to the women you work with about how they're dressed, standard builder, you kind of builder stuff, like if you're saying, oh, your tits look nice in that today, love, then possibly, that's not the sort of comment you need to be making, at work. But it also throws up is like that whole dating in the workplace, right? Because I know there was quite a few incidents where there's been kind of sexual harassment where, it's, what would you call it? Unwanted advances in the office space, right? Which, any unwanted advance, if it was wanted, then it's all good. Right, it's always to remember. Then it kind of throws kind of dating at work, whereas it's a rich source where a lot of people meet their partners. It kind of puts men in not just men and women in the position where they're not really wanting to do that because they don't want to get caught up in the kind of sexual harassment spiral.
Yeah.
Well, my opinion is that, if you're going to date someone at work, I guess you need to be pretty sure that that's what you're following the same path. Like if you happen to kind of go out for a drink one night with one of the ladies from work, you get talking, and you just need to be ultra sure about any moves you make, or if that's what you really want to do. Because you don't want to be caught up one of those guys who's getting all handsy at the Christmas party. Because we know about you guys getting handsy at the Christmas party.
And actually that leads on to the other interesting thing we want to say about the whole Me Too and this hasn't just come out of it, but consent. It's like consent's been around for a while, but in terms of a concept, and in 2019 it's a hot topic. And in that respect of what you just said, like consent is huge. It's like and for me, consent is actually being very clear about what is okay, you know, and you know, we could talk about agreements as well in relationships and all that sort of stuff. But again, you know, consent is verbally acknowledging or receiving verbal acknowledgement that it's okay to move forward in a particular way. And we, you know, when we previously recorded this the first time before I lost it, we were discussing like you were saying how it could potentially, you know, how would this potentially ruin the romance or the suspense of going for a girl, going on a date, going for a kiss.
Yes, I think it's that kind of whole thing of, okay, you know, you say you're on a date's going well, there's some flirting going on, you know, that sort of thing. And, you know, thinking, oh, she's looking at my lips, I'm looking at her lips, I'd like to kiss her. Now, the question comes up is, you know, should you kind of get consent to attempt to kiss someone? I think is probably the better word. And, you know, I feel that I'm, you know, not old school, but I like to play with the sexual tension and, you know, just maybe look deeply in someone's eyes. And then if it's the moment's right and your lips are close, then going for it. But, you know, there's a good point now to be getting clear and getting consent. And the consent might just look like saying, you know, your lips look so soft and red. And, you know, I just really love to kiss them. You know, because that's kind of seeking consent from another person. You're stating what you'd like to do, and you're given the opportunity to say no. Sorry, I had to say it like that. But you're equally given the opportunity to maybe not even actually have to say a word and just lean into you, which, you know, would be quite beautiful.
Yeah, and one could be more direct, even still. You know, just by merely stating the obvious of a situation, like, because often what we can do is assume, and I think this is what we're trying to eradicate nowadays with the idea of consent is false assumptions. Is that, and because it's so easy to go, oh, okay, yeah, you know, I assumed that this is what you wanted, and so I went and I kissed, or yeah. But yeah, you might be wrong, and in that case, you know, you don't want to be wrong. So in these cases, is to actually put it forth in a like David did, in a very poetic way. And in that regard as well, I do find that consent is actually a new art form in its own way, because it's a bit like that movie Good Will Hunting, where I believe is it Matt Damon who's in it? Yeah, and he Matt Damon. Yeah, where he goes on a date with a woman and he's like, hey, why don't we just do away with all this charade and get straight to the sex? I think it was that movie. And obviously she's like, what the fuck? But
that always works for me, man.
Yeah, straight away.
So Monday, it's like, hey, how you doing?
You arrive at the place at the
bar. And they're like, should we get a drink? And I'm like, no, how about we skip all this charade and just go back for sex? And they're like, oh my God, I was just hoping you'd say that. Yeah.
Why do all the other guys waste so much time?
I know, all that money.
Exactly.
They could be buying new video games.
Yeah. Which is what David does with all of his money, saves. And so you know, there's a bit of an art form there in that respect, but like David says, like, you know, showing interest, but also, you know, you could say how, you know, it's obvious there's something between us. You know, how do you feel about going back to my place or continuing the night over there? And, you know, you're always giving options and being clear and open, and it doesn't have to be like a romance killer.
No, it doesn't. It's like, I can think back to a couple of examples I can think of an example of me not getting consent many years ago, where I was out on a date with a girl and it happened to be quite close to the place I was living at the time, and we had a few drinks there. I think, you know, probably had like 2 or 3 drinks, and I was like, oh, I know this other awesome bar not too far away, and she was like, okay, cool, let's go there. So we started walked for like 15-20 minutes, and she was like, oh, like, where's this bar? It doesn't look like there's gonna be a bar here. And I was like, no, we're here, we're at the bar. And then the bar, well, it was actually my place, and she was like, oh, we're at your place. I was like, yeah. I was like, let's go in, we'll have a few drinks. And she was like, okay, cool. And we went in. But equally in that time, you know, I look back now and I kind of cringe a little bit, because I'm like, you know, I didn't really get full consent to leave the bar and take it to my place. I, at the time, I know I was really looking at it as a type of adventure, something quite fun and funny to do. And but, you know, that's not really what you should be doing now, which I don't want to say it's a shame, but it's like, is there a loss of adventure and fun through having to get consent all the time? I don't know. I'm still, looking at that myself, really.
Well,
but equally, an example where, for instance, when before I used to have sex with women, this is like going back quite a few years, is I would kind of want them to tell me to get a condom. But it's not because I was trying to kind of put it in without a condom, because that's not what I was doing.
I'm glad
but I
you
mean,
cleared that up.
it was like that consent of them going, yes, I want you to, I want to have sex. Going, yes, have you got a condom? And I'm like, yeah, I've got a condom, and I'll get one. Because I never wanted to kind of have sex with a woman that didn't want to have sex with me. And I can think of a few instances where I remember being in this very home, actually, and this girl had been at my place for a few hours, and we were in bed, and I just remember kind of being just about to kind of start having sex and being, just about to have penetration. And I remember being like, I looked at her and I was like, she doesn't want to do this. Like, I remember just thinking, no, she doesn't want to do this. And, okay, cool. And I just remember just kind of getting off and being like, I need to go to the toilet, coming back in and then talking. And then being like, I'm really tired, I want to go to sleep. And the next morning she was like to me, oh, like, why didn't you want to last night? And I was like, I just felt like you weren't really into it, and I just felt like it was the right thing to do. And she was like, well, you were kind of right. She was like, she didn't want to say anything, she didn't want to upset me. And I was like, you wouldn't have upset me, it would have been totally fine. So, it's good to get kind of, I think they call it enthusiastic consent from someone. It's not like, oh yeah, that's kind of shady consent. It's like, yes.
Well, yeah, like tying in an emotion to the to the whole experience. And I like what you said there, because like something of what I really believe in is honoring people, and in the same way that you'd like to be honored. And it's so strange in society now how we kind of, I'm just talking about, in public when we're walking around, we could see someone looking very sad or whatnot, and never even go up to them to say anything or help them. But we all have the ability to feel, to see and feel what another person is feeling just by looking at them, just by seeing them. You can see, if you don't believe me, try this out. If you're, if you're listening to this on a train, and there's other people around, yes, look at them now, see them, look at them, and see how you can get a sense for how they feel.
Raise your eyebrows at them and then lick your lips, and then you see how they feel then.
Yeah. And now stand on one leg and hop.
Coming to America.
Yeah. Now stop it. No. Okay. So, back in the room. And yeah, honoring people is, and the thing about honoring people is like, well, how would you want to be? How would you want to be? How would you want to be respected? Dave, you actually had a story about this as well. We talk about honoring, and so much, and so often we're like focused on like how women feel when like men are constantly pandering over them, and how essentially, one of the things that we understood over our time is that inherently women do feel unsafe. For in most cases, a guy turns up on a date and he's stronger, he's bigger, in stature, and the woman is essentially vulnerable, in that respect. And so this is one thing that it was a game changer for me when the penny dropped in that respect, because just understanding and compassionately getting that women inherently feel unsafe when they're out and about, and if all it takes then is just that slight kind of inclination that you're dangerous, or you're angry, or you're out of control or something, and then and I'm not saying women are helpless or anything like that. No, I'm just saying in general, and this is very important for men to understand, is that as a guy, and I'm like roughly, I'm just under 6 foot, I'm like 5'11". Dave, you're like 6 foot, right? And we're not small guys by any measure, really.
He's just got a massive belly.
Yeah, exactly. I'm swinging this bad boy around. I'm throwing my weight around. I'm a threat. No, so yeah, and it's just interesting, when you take that into mind, like how it is for women out there, you know. So for the guys that, you know, they never understood it or think that, oh, the Me Too thing is just a fad or whatever. No, it's a real issue. Yeah, and actually women are going through this stuff on a day-to-day basis.
I remember, especially in my 20s, and I started to probably like connect with women better and better. Like especially my mid-20s, it saddened me the number of women that I'd meet and they had some sort of story about kind of serious sexual abuse or rape. Like I started to feel like it was like 1 in 3 women you speak to have been like, you know, been like raped basically by men who should have known better. Like, you know, whether it be that they've been forced up against walls in clubs and all sorts of things like that. Like this, and it started to I really became present to this experience that women have of being quite, you know, having to be feeling quite afraid and have to be thinking about how to keep safe, which isn't something men really have to do when it comes to kind of going to clubs and bars and being in that sort of environment. And I just started to get so sad about how so many men just kind of make assumptions about women like, oh, she's dressed like this means that. And it's like, that's fucked up, right? So it's not something as men we really kind of have to experience at all, like being worried about being, you know, sexually assaulted or raped. And for me, the Me Too movement is just putting men just being a bit more present. Like to be a really modern man, I think it's just be present to a woman's experience when it comes to kind of sex and dating.
Yeah, just essentially understanding that point of view. And, you know, again, like we were thinking about this topic and how there's a sense of panic in the air. I feel that on both sides, you know, whether it's men or women, but the sense of panic in the air about what's going on in the world and, you know, how does one date now? But, you know, in reality, if you actually are able to understand a woman's position on this and how, you know, how it feels, you know, compassion, understand, you can actually have a good conversation about this. And this will really benefit you.
Really be present and listen to it and ask them about what their opinions are. Like I had, was it last year? Yeah, a friend of mine I work with, someone he knew was writing a master's thesis actually about Me Too and its effect on men and masculinity. And she was looking for participants to interview. And I was like, yeah, I'd happily do that. And we sat down for like an hour or so talking. And it was a really insightful exercise for me. And I'm sure it helped her out. But it was really nice to talk to someone about kind of how men act and how men can kind of be more present to women's experiences, but also like how is it affecting dating? And then I remember she said to me, she's like, how's it affecting your dating life? And I was like, if I'm honest, it hasn't changed anything for me really. You know, maybe, you know, I've listened to the stories and I'm probably talking about it on my dates, but it hasn't changed how I date really, because I don't see, you know, and maybe we'll move into this next topic around like approaching women. She was like, you know, does it deter you from speaking to women in bars and clubs? And I was like, no, because how else would people function? Like if men all stopped going and men just said, okay, I'm not going to talk to any women because I think it's harassment. But you'd end up in a state in London where all the men would be on one side of the bar and all the women would be on the other side. And what would they do? Pass notes? Be like Rule 15 again. So I think that, you know, when it comes to speaking to women and like actually approaching them, which was our actual next part of the topic, it's totally fine. Proceed as you were, and as long as you're not being kind of lewd and crass or being, you know, a bit grabby, as some men are, you know, on approaching women, then there's no problem.
Yeah, and in that respect as well, again, it's just going back to what I was saying before on that matter. It's like being able to communicate with women on that level and understanding like where they might be at. So if you're approaching them, especially in an uncommon place, like, you know, like if it's, you know, if it's not in a bar, if it's not in a club, and, you know, maybe they're just out and about shopping or wherever, right? Like, but not in a place where perhaps, you know, they may expect a man to come over. Then having that awareness and giving the right amount of space, you know, physically, not blocking them.
And also there's like acknowledging the situation. Like if you're walking home from work and you see this woman pop into H&M, to name a popular brand, and you're like, oh, I want to talk to her. Maybe you run into H&M and you go, you tap her and go, hey, I just saw you going to the shop and I just think you look amazing in your dress. You're really beautiful today. And I thought, I'd just like to talk to you. The next thing you may want to say is, like, I really get that this is kind of strange that I've run in H&M and come to talk to you, because you're showing there that you've got social awareness of what you're doing, but equally you're also bold.
Yeah. So in that respect, for a lot of guys who are like, oh, is it harassment to approach women today, or it's not easy, or actually it's actually not the case. Nothing has essentially changed in the way that you approach or talk to women. Just your mindset, like just the awareness now that this is the truth. This is what's been happening in the world, and it's not something that is going to just disappear overnight and be cured overnight in that respect. So then, for the guys who are gentlemen and who are like
Gentlefolk. I regard ourselves as gentlefolk.
Yeah, we are gentlefolk. So there's no issue. Like, there's literally no issue. Carry on and continue having great conversations and great dates. And if you're in any doubt in regard to what to say and stuff, there are other episodes of ours that you can listen to.
I think it's episode 5. We talk about how to have beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
That's a good one for conversational help.
Yep. Yeah. I believe there's 5 key points in that one as well.
5 and 5.
Yeah, 5 and 5. Yeah, we really nailed that one with the 5 and 5. So yeah, so in short, that's like, that kind of sort of nails that whole, is it inappropriate to approach, and then with touch, it's the same thing as like what we were saying before about consent. It's like, so Dave and I, we used to go out a lot. We used to teach men in the clubs, and it back then, this wasn't like a mass issue, but I remember even still, I could spend the whole night like in a club talking to different people. And actually, there was one time where I did spend the whole night talking to different people, had a great time. At the end of the night, I was with some friends in the smoking section, and there was this girl there as well. And maybe was she by herself? Actually, now that I come to think about it. But yeah, anyway, the smoking section, there were people there. But I went over and I said, hey, and I put my hand on her shoulder, and she like freaked out and was like, don't touch me. And I personally was like kind of taken aback because of my prior experience. I was like, this is a bit weird. But what it brings to light is like, not everyone is going to be okay. Yeah. And this is what people have to understand, is like, we live in a society where you've just got different people.
And you just don't know you don't know how her evening's been. You don't know you don't know what happened to her 5 minutes ago. Maybe some guy tried to grab her and force her into a cupboard or into a dark corner or something like that. You just don't know.
Well, that one was a bit outlandish, Dave. I think I don't think she'd still be standing there looking at her phone.
Well, maybe she was looking at her phone because she's trying to get a taxi, and I don't know, call the police.
Yeah, but my point is, it's like it's like we live in an age now where it's just like different. There's just different folk, and we have to respect the boundaries of different people.
I think boundaries is another one as well. I think boundaries comes within the kind of remit of what we're talking about here. It's just respecting other people's boundaries as well. Maybe you're on a date with a woman and she likes space. She doesn't like to be touched, and it's just like, respecting that boundary. Because I think that's ultimately especially with some of the kind of sexual harassment and sexual assault, is that there's men out there who are not respecting women's boundaries of like, they're not taking no as no, and they're just like, oh, no, this means I need to try harder. And it isn't. It's no means no. And that's just respecting other people's boundaries.
Yeah. And so you had another point here, actually. I think this was yours, about not getting sexual too quickly.
Yeah. I think this is again, it's something to be remembered for guys out there, is that you may be feeling this kind of sexual energy running through you because you've seen the woman and you feel very sexually attracted to her. This can happen to you on a date, or it could happen to you, just out and about when you meet women, bars, clubs, the regular places you meet women, but they're everywhere, right? But she may have she's only kind of just seen you. So, in the first kind of few minutes of your interaction, just be very wary not to be overly sexual or be too sexual, right? Just be socially aware of that. This is just some person you've just met. It's different if you feel that you're very masterful in your skill, because there are instances where, you know, you might have been looking longingly at someone for a few minutes, you know, that's that sexual charge in the air, and you can feel it from the two of you, but you just have to be aware that it might just be completely in yourself, you know, and just to be kind of socially aware and be respectful of the women you're with.
And again, this is why we're going back to what we said about consent and stuff. It's really important to know how to essentially navigate with consent in this world, because then, you know, you're not making these faux pas of
and I think it's I'm not gonna lie, I think it's tricky because, like, you know, I've definitely been in instances where I've just met a girl and I'm like, there's definitely some sexual tension here, and I'm, you know, talking and we're kind of even holding or hugging or, you know, however, and that just I've got that vibe that this is all right. Right, and
got that vibe.
I got that vibe.
You got it.
Isn't that by R. Kelly?
Oh no! I thought it was Blackstreet, right?
Oh, the irony. Okay.
If I realised it was R. Kelly,
we must have to cut that out, because R. Kelly's been doing some shit too.
I don't know.
Oh man, R. Kelly's on a new level. He's got he was like locking women up and shit. Haven't you watched I haven't watched the documentary either.
Oh dear, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that singing bit out. It's not a homage to R. Kelly. But you know, sometimes you just feel that there's a vibe there, and it's like you roll with it, and it's, you know, it's generally good. But it's just to be mindful that your advances may not be reciprocated, and when they're not, maybe you need to just back up a little bit, especially if they're very sexual advances.
Yeah, and this is also in line with, like, not just seeing women as objects of sexual desire.
Yeah,
and only ever relating to women, like you know, thinking back, what was it like? We're in 2019 now, and then, you know, like back in the 70s and 60s and 50s, it's like how things were, and how men were, and how James Bond was. You know, you just have to look at TV and understand how things were.
Yeah, you see that, you watch some old TV, and some of the things they say towards or about women, it's just like, you know, I think a really good one is to watch some kind of comedy from 20 or 30 years ago, and you really get a sense of, like, you'll sit there with your mouth open like, fuck man, that was acceptable to say at that time. And obviously we've moved away a long way, you know, society moves forward quite rapidly, I feel, in many areas, but it is to know that there definitely was a lot of this, especially I feel with the Harvey Weinsteins of the world, was this idea that they could do what they want, that women were just there for their own playthings, you know, and it was like almost like their property to do as they pleased. And it's, you know, women are human beings, we are all born equal, and we deserve to be treated with respect equally. And, you know, they're women, you can connect with women. It doesn't have to be, you're not taking sex from a woman, you're sharing that with a woman, and it doesn't have to, if you start to see that more, your success with women will increase, full stop. I believe a lot of men feel like there's a scarcity, and you need to take the sex that comes away. Oh, she's interested, I have to get her, you know. And it's like, actually relax.
Well, this is actually something, you know, I found that you're actually very good at, in terms of just talking about sex, and as a topic, being very sex positive, and being able to just convey your feelings about sex, or, you know, sexual experiences that you've had, and opening up a conversation in a group of people that you only met.
I think it's something that's really important for men to be able to talk about sex from a kind of non-crass, non-kind of rude way, and actually be just very positive with women. Like my great belief is that I am all for women having as much sex as they want. I think it's great. I think we're moving into an era of the world where that's happening more and more, and I am completely for it, because I think it's a beautiful thing to see a woman fully in her sexual power, and yeah, and I want to talk about it too. I'm interested in other people's feelings upon sex, their experiences, their wants, their desires, and this may just be a table of people I'm at dinner with, you know. And maybe that'd be another episode to educate them on how to kind of talk about sex.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good
beautiful and positive way. But I think it really conveys something about me and my own kind of belief in equality of us all, you know.
And actually, I mean, because of what we do now on this podcast and how we speak, that we actually follow a bunch of sex positive accounts. There's one called Shrimp Teeth that I love.
Shrimp Teeth's great, and great like images and pictures. And
really
I'm thinking
powerful images. They're very simple and very powerful. And there was Sex Plus magazine, I think it is. 6+1. No.
And then there's also Sex Smarts, which I think is a really good one. It gives some great images and text, and it's all very kind of sex positive, especially for women. I think there's a lot of content out there for women. Sex Plus Zine.
That's the one. Yeah.
And is it Afrosexology as well, which is more aimed towards the kind of the black community, but again, some really beautiful posts around, being sex positive about things like periods. I know men have this thing about periods, like there's something wrong with them, but it's like, it's just some blood, dude. It's cool, man. But equally around hair and weight and stuff like that, it's all just bringing it together and just having open dialogue about.
Yeah. So actually, if you have had any interesting experiences and around the Me Too movement, how it's affected your dating, any problems, issues that arise for you when it comes to dating now, especially, in the Me Too, and you're worried about how to express, like, get in touch, let us know your story. If there's anything we can help you with, if there's any questions we can answer, we're here to help. Because to be honest, for us, like, it hasn't been a major issue. Like, if anything, it's been great to see such a change in the world in our lifetime, and to see, as you were saying about the Rise of Man podcast, and how this whole thing about our job isn't done until otherwise it's not just women but all people, all people are safe. And because the truth is, we do live in a world where it's just, there is constantly things going on that people just constantly feel unsafe, irrespective of man or women, or whatever your gender. It's like there's people feeling unsafe. But so if you have any stories or questions, then do get in touch. David?
Yeah, we'd love to hear about your kind of experiences in terms of do you feel like post Me Too, has that changed your kind of dating life? As a man, like, do you think you've had to make some drastic changes? Have you had any like really bad experiences? And like, you can get contact with us at Authentic Dating Series on Instagram, or you can find us Authentic Dating Series on Twitter as well, and hello@authenticdatingseries.com on our website.
Cool. Thanks for listening, guys. This has been the Authentic Dating Series with David and Ahmad, and we'll catch you next week.
Cool.
Ciao.
Ciao.